This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial's set correctly to USAPrepares.com. Broadcasting twice, 2 hours a day from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Studio A. Converging threats are confronted daily by your instructors. I'm Vincent Finelli. Tom is engineering the worldwide broadcast from Minnesota. Today our class is focused on medicine. Dr. Julie Penick's in the classroom. She's a 3 times PhD nurse practitioner. She's a college instructor. She works with Dr. Norman Shealy. She's been to our Get Prepared Expos. She's been on the air with us. And it's a delight to welcome Dr. Julie Penick to the broadcast. Welcome, Dr. Julie Penick.
Good morning, Vince. How are you?
I am well. Dr. Penick, it does not sound like you're driving in your vehicle for this broadcast. Is that true?
I'm actually on my cell phone sitting in my vehicle at the moment. Because as my daily schedule goes, I'm always here, there, and everywhere. So probably the first hour today will be in my car somewhere. But yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Dr. Penick, I remember broadcasting with you at 70 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And
now, the listening audience should know. Actually, I think that time I was driving. Yeah, that's why why a lot of people don't want to drive with me. I don't know what the deal is with that, but it's always a delight to be able to be on the radio with you. I love the conversation. I love the topics. I love that you have a very intense focus, educated and wanting to be even better educated listening audience. And so when we have the opportunity to talk about things in the medical community that we don't hear talked about very often, it's always exciting to me to be able to at least crack the door open for people who want to go on then and check the facts and make sure that this crazy little girl is got some semblance of truth there, because quite honestly, a lot of the things that you and I discuss on the air are not only they're not what are heard commonly at a conventional healthcare provider's visit, they are quite contradictory oftentimes to what people hear at average healthcare provider's visit. And this is what I say to people when they come to see me and I give them the information that I give them. It would be incredulous of me to think that you would check your brain at the door when you walked in my office. And so when they go to challenge me, I give them the references, I give them the resources, I send them to PubMed where I get most of my research, I send them to websites to get additional information, I send them to organizations, I reference books that I've read, and all of the books that I read, my authors that I read, have their list of references, for the facts that they claim. And I'm always curious to understand why they want to come to my practice and challenge me on facts, when the only reason they show up in my office is because what the other model offered them either didn't work or they outright rejected it. So when they start asking me those questions, I usually have 2 responses. I don't have time to teach you what I know. If you want to know what I know, you go spend the money and you get educated like I did. And as you said in the introduction, I have 3 doctoral level degrees, and I'm maybe not done. But anyway, and the other thing I say to them is, did you challenge the person who just aimlessly and blindlessly gave you a therapy that didn't work or that you just outright rejected? Did you challenge them about what they knew about those therapies like you're challenging me about what I know about mine? I said, and if you did, if you took it that far, did they give you places to go and check their facts? And what do you think the answer to those questions typically are? No, of course they didn't ask that person. They just accepted blindly that that person knew and had the facts straight, which we all know isn't always the case, and they didn't. And if they did challenge and ask the question, most often than not, they're not provided with reliable resources to go check out the information. And so I don't think they should check their brain at the door when they come into my office any more than they check their brain in the door when they go in. They shouldn't check their brain at the door anywhere because we are supposed to be taking care of ourselves.
Dr.
So
Penick,
we seek information
about
from others just to teach it. Go ahead.
Well over a year ago, I had an annual checkup with my doctor of many years. And the first thing that happens is the nurse will weigh me and check my height and see if I've gotten any taller. And so she writes this on the chart. The doctor comes in, he looks at the chart, and he goes, Vincent, you've gained a little weight here. I see you're up 4 pounds. And
wow.
Dr. Penick, you've seen me, right? I am not overweight. I'm not overweight. So he's jumping on me.
Now let me ask you a question.
So he jumps on me because I
What was your BMI?
Go ahead.
If you gained weight, 4 pounds, what was your BMI?
Oh, I'm at like 21.6.
Yeah, and so for your listening audience, let's elaborate on that. Normal weight individuals are people who are considered in the range of 20 to 25. Below a BMI of 20, and you said you're at 21 point something, so you're well on the low end of that spectrum. Below that is considered people who are underweight, and above 25 are considered people who are overweight, and the people above 30 are considered obese, and over, I believe it's 40, is morbid obesity. So the reality is you're a normal weight individual, but yet your doctor wants to find something because you're so daggum healthy and they can't find anything to throw down your throat, right? They have to find something to yell at you for, so let's just pick on you gained 4 pounds in the last year. Because
right.
do you know why
so
they,
I said to
do you
him,
know why they,
I said,
do you know why they do that?
Well, I'd love to know why, but go ahead, please.
Well, let me tell you why I think they do that. Because someone like you or I walks in their office and there's nothing wrong with us, and we're not on a bunch of pills, and so we don't have a need to be subrogating our personal power to them. And so when they do that, it's the only thing they can find. Oh, I see you've gained 4 pounds. That puts them in a position of power and authority, or so they think, over you and your healthcare choices.
Okay. Well, I can tell you what I said to him. I said, have you been in the waiting room? have you seen the patients that are that are in the waiting room that have been there to see you and that are going to see you today? I mean, I'm within the top, 5% in terms of weight of where I need to be. And seriously, I couldn't believe it. And he looked at me and he's like, okay, I get it. And I challenged him to find, 5 people in the waiting room that are close to the, their correct best weight. And of course he couldn't, other than, Mrs. Finelli was there and her body mass index is probably close to mine. But what I've noticed, a lot of us at usaprepares.com, a lot of our instructors, not all, but a lot of us are, and I guess it probably is because we don't take direction very well. We ask lots of questions, and you mentioned, challenging the medical professional, and I did. I mean, as soon as first thing he said was, "Hi, Vincent, your weight's up," and the first thing out of my mouth was, "Hey, how's it going? Did you look in the lobby, in the the waiting room?" So let's talk about. Well, let's talk about. You want to talk about Obamacare and some alternatives? Is that something you're up for?
Well, yes. I know a lot of people think that the conversation about Obamacare had died down for a while, and now it's raging back up because they may be able to accommodate more people on the healthcare.gov website, but they're not able to accommodate them adequately. And in addition to being not able to accommodate them adequately, because if they get above a certain level of users, we've all understood that they just then give you a message that says we can't accommodate you now, we want to make an appointment with you, whatever. They're clear experts out in the field say that it's not a secure website, and that your personal information is at jeopardy by virtue of the fact that you might be putting your Social Security and your date of birth and all of those things out there for public. The experts say it's not even a need to necessarily be a terribly skillful hacker, that the website is very tenuous when it comes to protecting your personal information. And so it's not an ideal system, and I think most people, even those who were proponents of it before, even those who voted for it, under Pelosi's wisdom, you have to, like, pass the bill to find out what's in it. I think what they're finding out is they're not real happy with what's in it, right? But I want to talk to you about the lunacy and the ludicrousy of some of the ways to get around that. I had a list here prepared for the last time we were going to talk, and I'm going to find it in my list of things to do. But let's talk about one thing, one viable option. One of the exemptions for people who do not want to be participants in Obamacare is that you can be a member of a health care ministry. Were you aware of that, Vince?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I am a member of
have you talked about that with your audience?
Massive delays. And I wonder if it's because we're talking about Obamacare. But I'm looking at the screen right now. We are experiencing massive problems on this communication. So we may be talking over each other unintentionally because there's such a delay between me and Dr. Penick and the network in Minnesota. But please bear with us. We'll try to fix that during the first break. But Dr. Penick, to answer your question, let's talk about the options that we have to escape Obamacare, if that's what we'd like to do. And one of the ways is to join the Nemenhah. It's a congregation of Native American tribes. Nemenhah, Chief Cloudpiler, is a chief. He's been to the Get Prepared Expo, and we've talked about it. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit about how well that works, but I'd love to hear your responses as to alternatives to healthcare. Dr. Julie Penick's with us. We're experiencing a few problems. We're going to try to correct them during this break. So we'll be right back after these few commercial announcements. We're back. Dr. Julie Penick's with us. She's broadcasting from the Springfield community in her car, but it's not going 70 miles an hour as has been done before. Tom just let us know that the delay that we experienced was significant. Tom, can you tell us about that delay?
Yeah, you happen to win the award for biggest delay that GCN has ever had. 2,000 milliseconds. Congrats.
Thanks so much. So we had a delay between us in Missouri and GCN, the longest delay of any broadcast. And so it was difficult for Dr. Penick to be in sync with us and hear what we're saying, because 2 seconds out, 2 seconds back, that's 4 seconds. Extraordinarily long in broadcast terms.
If I can say, it's 2 secones between both of us, not 4 seconds.
Oh, okay.
I just want to say it's the longest I've seen since I've worked here at Genesis. So there might be longer delays out there. I've never seen or heard of them.
Okay. Dr. Penick, we're talking about alternatives to Obamacare, and I'd like to share this with you. We had Chief Cloudpiler of the Congregation of Tribes, Nemenhah, at the Get Prepared Expo, and we consecrated the grounds as sacred right there, and we posted on all the doors to the entrance to a city-owned property, which was the Cowan Civic Center, that these grounds were sacred, and that for government employees, they would have to apply for permission to be on the grounds. And this is the very first time that the police did not show up, the officials did not show up, the government employees didn't show up. It was unbelievable, because they were put on notice that they were responsible and will be held accountable for their own actions should they show up. And government employees do not like doing that. So what I'm saying is it absolutely works when you put the government on notice that they would be in violation of a treaty with the indigenous peoples of America. So that works. And a lot of us at usapreparedness.com are interested in becoming Nemenhah. I am one. Dr. Shealy is one. And there are other instructors at usapreparedness.com who are Nemenhah, have been spiritually adopted by the Church of Nemenhah. So that is one way to practice medicine without becoming part of the Obamacare corruption. What are your thoughts?
Well, Vince, for my edification and the listening audience, when you say that is a mechanism in lieu of Obamacare, are you saying that because being adopted by the tribe then allows you to have health care services done in the traditional fashions of the tribe?
We can practice medicine to our choosing.
To our choosing. So additional clarification, because I'm not adopted yet. I started the process at one time and didn't complete it. Does that mean then we can do it of our choosing and that we do not have to participate in Obamacare because we are participating in our traditional values through the tribal mechanisms and therefore become exempt like healthcare ministries do?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
well,
you know, let me share this with you. There are some who are concerned that we would be giving up our previously held beliefs to change them, to throw overboard our religious beliefs and practices for Nemenhah. That is not the case. So, for example, I was raised Roman Catholic. I do not wear my religion on my sleeve. I do not go out recruiting people to become Catholic or to convert. And the Church of Nemenhah allows us to have whatever beliefs we have, as long as our beliefs are in concert with their beliefs. So, for example, we believe that it's not good to harm the planet. It is not good to harm the community. It is not good to hurt other people. We believe that we should help each other. We should heal the planet. We should leave it better than we found it. We shouldn't pollute it. So if those are our beliefs and we feel strongly about it, we can apply to become Nemenhah. In addition, we can keep our other beliefs. It's the best of both worlds as far as I can tell. And
I got you, because I also was raised Roman Catholic, and I am an ordained minister, and the church that I'm ordained in has 3 tenet beliefs.
Class, Dr. Julie Penick's with us, and she's a 3-times PhD, nurse practitioner, and we're talking about alternatives to Obamacare. Dr. Penick, you mentioned that you were raised also Roman Catholic and that you're ordained, and you were going to tell us about that.
Well, I'm ordained one of my doctors is a theological doctorate, so I'm ordained in that church. And a lot of my family kind of freaked out over that. Thank you. Because Roman Catholics are staunch in their belief systems, and they get a little queasy when people start, moseying around outside of that. So the 3 tenets of the church that I'm ordained in, which is the International Science of Mind Church, are that we have a benevolent creator, that we have a soul that supersedes this vessel we need to carry it around, bound to the earthly domain, and that love is the greatest force in the universe. Now, when you look at Catholicism, there's nothing of those 3 tenets of the church that I'm ordained in that is in conflict with my Christian belief system. nor as you look at what you believe as a part of the Naminha is any of that in conflict with our belief system. So those are two great examples of how people should not listen to what other people say and have people scare them away from valuable relationships in their life regarding personal daily choices when we live in an environment when so many of our choices have been taken away from us.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I had no problem joining Nemenha. However, there are some of USA Prepares who are concerned about that. Well, Dr. Shealy was at our farm one day, and there were several of us talking about different things. And Dr. Shealy, as you know, you've worked with him, studied with him. He's a brilliant man, and he was talking about past lives, and that really upset a portion of the room. We're listening to him. Now, I was fascinated by it because I just wanted to know more about past lives and how do you know who you were and so forth. And he invited me to participate in a past life regression, and I'm certainly willing to do that. And I'd be delighted to do that. And I don't think that has any conflict with how I was educated or raised Roman Catholic. So I'm going to do it. And if it's a problem for a church, it's a problem for the church. It's not a problem for me. So I look at Obamacare as something that I don't want to participate in. I was talking to Mrs. Finelli, who handles those kinds of things for the family, and she was telling me that all of the health care premiums have gone up, with Obamacare, except for mine. Now, mine went down a couple dollars, and I mean like a couple dollars. I don't mean 10, I mean a couple. And the reason it went down is because my deductible went up 50%. So yeah. So I get to pay the first $7,500, of my medical care as a deductible. So I'm not happy with Obamacare, and I can't wait to just use. Probably next year, what I'll do is I'll just cease medical coverage because I don't get anything out of it. I pay for it monthly, and I see my doctor who says, well, just keep on doing what you're doing. And I say, doctor, should I be taking vitamins? No, you get plenty of, you get all that in the food you eat. Should I be doing anything different? No, just keep doing what you're doing. And by the way, your PSA is lower than mine. How come? And you're older than I am. Much older. Well...
Don't make him mad, Vince. Don't make him mad.
Well, I didn't say it. I didn't even bring it up. He looked at the chart and took his glasses off, put them back on, and said, what? Like, how can this be? He's in his 40s. I'm in my 60s. I don't know. But anyway, so what are your thoughts about alternatives to Obamacare?
Well, I'm really intrigued about what you said about the Naminha, and you and I knew because we have been around the rodeo for a long time. We knew that they were never going to be able to carry that off unless they forced young, healthy people who don't carry insurance because they don't necessarily feel that particularly at risk, particularly young people who have good lifestyle choices like you and I do. We know that at the heart of chronic disease development are poor lifestyle choices. And young people never felt that they were at great risk because they weren't diseased individuals, and if there were young people who made good choices, they weren't likely going to end up with chronic diseases. And so it's not going to work unless all these young, healthy people sign up and pay to cover the care of those who are unhealthy. Essentially what we've done now is we are saying that you can be morbidly obese and you can continue to eat all junk food and you can continue to smoke and have poor lifestyle choices. And those of us who choose not to do that are now forced to pay for your health care. Because that's what we've done. That's exactly what we've done. And quite honestly, that infuriates me because I work really hard to maintain healthy lifestyle choices. I would love to go to the Christmas party and eat like my colleagues eat, and I would love to put junk food in my body, although I tasted a piece of pizza yesterday, and to be perfectly honest, in the years that I've had great lifestyle choices, I will tell you that pizza has certainly lost its appeal. I don't even remember why I used to like it after I took one bite of it yesterday. I thought, that's not even worth it. But it's not fair to those of us who work really hard and spend the time, energy, effort, and the financial resources to maintain health, then to be forced to buy insurance so that we can take care of people who don't take care of themselves. Now, you and I both know that some people are stricken with illnesses that have healthy lifestyle choices. I don't have any problem helping take care of those people. But I do have a huge problem of taking care of people who are self-abusive and continue in their self-abusive lifestyles. I don't see why I should take care of them. Many years ago, a student nurse was working with me, and they had an assignment to develop the ideal healthcare system in the country. And they said to me, what do you think that would look like? And I said, that would be a healthcare system that adequately educated its people in honest terms, not what is the prevailing thought of medicine of the day, but real, true science, not the appearance of good science that so many people want to quote to you when you go to their offices. Real, true science, time-tested and true, of ways to keep yourself healthy. And then I would monitor those people, and if they didn't use the tools that they were educated to use, I would cut them off from all health care benefits and make them pay for all their health care out of their pocket. I think that's a win-win. What do you think?
Oh, I love it. I love it. As a matter of fact, people who are not insured have to do that. People have to eat well, take care of themselves if they're not insured, or they pay. So I'm all for it, and that's pretty much what Nemenha allows us to do. If we have the ability to make the right choices and the discipline to eat right and to take vitamins and minerals and supplements and avoid bad behavior like smoking and drinking and all the things that shorten our lives, it makes a lot of sense for us to just opt out of the healthcare system by practicing our religious freedom to be with a church like Nemenha or an alternative to that. So I'm all for it. And that's kind of the way I live anyway. And I look at my healthcare premiums and I go, I've got to be absolutely out of my mind to pay these premiums.
To spend that kind of money when you're a healthy individual, right?
Well, okay,
if you had the option of putting those premiums away into an account that grew,
mm-hmm.
If at any point in time you have unforeseen adverse issue come up with, probably have saved a significant amount of money to finance your own health care expenditures.
Sure. Well,
but we're not allowed to do that.
Well, let's look at it this way. Dr. Penick, if the average family is spending $15,000 a year on health care, now whether that be through some employer-assisted health care plan or they're paying it out of pocket, $15,000 today is not an unreasonable amount to be charged. I mean, it's highway robbery, but it's not unusual. It's unreasonable, but it's not unusual. $15,000 a year for health care. Now, in order to earn that much income, you'd have to, at a 50% tax rate, which is low, you'd have to earn $30,000 a year just to cover one item, health care, right. One item. So now that, forget housing, forget where you're going to live, forget clothing, forget electricity, forget the automobile and transportation and food and all that. Just $30,000 a year is what you'd have to earn in order to pay $15,000 a year to healthcare. It's out of control. Now, you're right. Imagine that you save that $15,000 a year and just put it into some kind of a safe investment vehicle. I'm not talking about stocks. I'm talking about something safe. Boy, you'd be way ahead, right? Way ahead.
You should be. Absolutely.
And Mrs. Finelli was, back in the 1990s, we got our health insurance bill, and she called our insurance. It was the Farm Bureau at the time in Virginia. She called up our agent. She said, hey, what's with this? I mean, she was very polite about it. And she said, what's with this? And the insurance agent said, well, what we're doing is there are a lot of people who are obese, and we have to fund their health care, and so your premium went up. And Mrs. Finelli said to our insurance agent, she said, Will, you know me. You've seen me. I am not obese. Now, why do I have to pay for these other people? And she was like furious, absolutely furious that she had to pay for others who are not making the right health choices. So it's coming out of our pocket. I mean, she was stomping around angry, and she was right.
Let's take a look at a way that we have been paying for other people's health care even before this travesty hit us. When a person shows up at a facility and requires care and they have no insurance, a bill may be sent to them, but if they don't have money, they don't have money, and the bill doesn't get paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then when we have what has happened to us for years and years and years and years and years, the cost for services is then calculated to be well above the actual cost of the services, to shift cost away from the people who can't pay for it and to charge us who are insured and our third-party payers double and triple what the actual cost is, so that the event that a person who shows up who needs the certain service that we had can't pay, then we cover already the cost of one or two of those people already.
Dr. Julie Penick, hold that thought. I think we're talking about $15 Band-Aids and aspirins. We'll be right back. Dr. Julie Penick's with us. PenickHealthcare.com. Link on the website, usaprepares.com, page 1. We're talking about alternatives to Obamacare, the high cost of health insurance, which almost today, I guess, would be more like sickness insurance, where you are probably going to have a tough time getting health care. I know that a couple days ago, our son needed to see a health care practitioner in that through his insurance. So he went to the nurse practitioner. Dr. Julie Penick, you are private pay only, aren't you?
I am private pay only.
Yep. So he went to his doctor of many years, and she said, okay, take this prescription. And he took it, and it didn't work, and he called back, and they said, well, you have to wait. And he was as sick as could be. And they said, we'll just have to wait 4 or 5 days and see what happens. So Mrs. Finelli called the same doctor, and they said, oh, here, we'll give you a prescription, and we'll take care of it. What I'm saying is we're getting substandard care today. We're absolutely getting substandard care. So you were talking about the overcharges, for lack of a better word. So the $15 Band-Aids and the $15 aspirins. So we have these massive, massive overcharges by hospitals because they're trying to recoup from those who pay nothing or pay less than the amount charged, right?
Right. And the other thing a lot of people don't know is discounts, huge discounts are given to insurance companies for providers of service. So let's say you get a bill, and the bill is $20,000. That facility will have contracted with certain insurance companies to say, well, they're only going to pay 55 cents on the dollar. If you don't have insurance, they're originally going to bill you that $20,000. And unless you know to negotiate that down, you're going to be stuck paying $20,000. So several years ago, I had a son-in-law who was in an accident, and he had a $17,000 and something bill. They didn't have health insurance, so I immediately offered a cash pay settlement at 50% of the billed price, and that was accepted at everybody involved with the exception of the anesthesia group. And I said, okay, well, if you don't want to accept that level of payment, then you can just put us on a monthly payment plan. They changed their mind and decided to accept 50 cents on the dollar cash right up front.
Now, when you offer a monthly payment plan, are you talking about, let's say it's a $5,000 charge? Just put us on the $25 a month plan. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, they're required to work with you and give you a payment plan.
Yeah, 25 sounds high. How about $8 a month? I love it. And when we go to the hospital group in Springfield, Missouri, because our deductible is so high, we just say, I tell you what, if we pay you cash right now, what will it be? And they immediately offer a 33%, 30% discount. I mean, that's the opening offer, easily.
Right.
So
easily.
Well, and that's still pretty high, $170 for 15 minutes, right?
Which is why at my cash pay rate, people people who had these Cadillac insurance plans and had $500 a year deductibles didn't realize how much their insurance company was being billed and paying out to their providers. When they were forced then into the $5,000, $6,000, and $10,000 a year deductibles, like you said, yours is now $7,500, and they came to see me and had to pay cash for my visit, they had cost the care at somebody else's office, and it had been in the neighborhood of $300 to $500. And so when they come to my office and they pay me $125 to $175 for an hour to an hour and a half of my time, I begin to look like a bargain because they were paying $300 to $500 for a 15-minute visit.
Speaking of bargains, Dr. Julie Penick will be back with us for the second hour. Dr. Penick, are you going to still be in your car, or are you going to?
No, I'm gonna go find a land-based phone and get on it.
Okay, we'll contact with you right after these top of the hour commercial announcements and news. Dr. Julie Penick's going to be with us on a landline. Please don't touch that dial.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Hour number 2, USAPrepares.com. I'm Vincent Finelli. Dr. Julie Penick was with us the last hour, and I want to mention, and she's going to be with us for this hour, Shelby, the Swamp Man, has a TV show on the History Channel. I have not seen it, but I got a call yesterday afternoon from Rob Roy. He owns a gun store in Louisiana, and he's going to be on the air with us on the 10th at 9 o'clock. So December 10th, that's Tuesday at 9 o'clock. He was on TV last night. He's one of our instructors. He is an armorer. He is a gunsmith. He owns a gun store. He's a really good guy, and he's going to talk about guns, ammunition, the shortages, what's happening, what he knows about where the ammunition's going. So that will be Tuesday the 10th at 10 o'clock. Dr. Julie Penick's with us. Dr. Penick, we were talking about alternatives. We were talking about how much health care is costing and some alternatives, what we can do to avoid the pitfalls of Obamacare, and one of them is become a member of a church of alternative healing. Now, is that what you are doing?
I do. You mean in my private practice?
Well, is that what you're recommending to some of your patients, or are you part of a church of alternative healing so that if you don't want to be a participant in Obamacare, you don't have to be?
Well, no, I don't think I have a leg to stand on there. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know if you had talked to your listening audience about being members of healthcare sharing ministries.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Because they are an exemption to the Affordable Care Act.
No, we have not talked about it. Let's do that.
Okay, well, there's an organization out there, and their website is CH for Christian Healthcare, chministries.org. They are a healthcare sharing ministry. They have been in existence for over 2 decades, I think almost 3 decades now. And unlike insurance companies that you have a contract with and you pay a certain fee, et cetera, this is a group of Christian folk from across the country who have decided that they don't mind sharing expenses with people when it comes to health care costs and expenditures. And so listed in the Affordable Care Act is the ability to belong to a health care ministry in lieu of participating in the Obamacare plan. And so I wanted to make your listening audience available. They can go to the chministries.org website, and they can look at what a monthly, it's not a premium, what a monthly fee is that they would pay in. And so let's say I have several of my clients who do this because they don't have regular health insurance. They are going to be exempt from Obamacare. They pay out of their pocket to see me, and that's less expensive than it would be to have a $10,000 a year deductible and still pay, $900 a month for a family to have health insurance. And so they'll pay a fee, and it's based on units. One person is 1 unit, 2 people, and then a family counts as 3 units. So it would be a flat rate per unit to participate in the healthcare ministries, and that is cited in the law as one of the exemptions to having to participate in the Obamacare program, or the Affordable Care Act program.
And there's nothing affordable about it.
No, and if anybody wants to know that provision in the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act is on page 128 of the Act. So they can reference that if they need to. But I'm sure the folks at the healthcare ministries are well aware of it because they've been doing it for decades and they do it well. They're not bankrupt. They spend out millions and billions of dollars in healthcare. So it's not like healthcare is not being paid for. It is being paid for, but the members or the people who participate in that agree to share costs with folks in that collective unit because they share beliefs about healthcare choices. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm at the website right now, and what it says is an HMO for a family would be $1,379. Then a preferred provider organization, a PPO plan, would be $1,389 for a family, about the same price. And a high deductible health plan savings option would be, and these are monthly numbers, $1,269, about the same. And then for the Christian healthcare ministries at the gold level is $450 for a family. So I'm looking at roughly $1,300. Absolutely amazing. So I'm so glad you mentioned this because I'm going to contact them and see if we can get them on the air with us, and maybe we can shift a lot of people's expenses way down. We're talking, roughly, a third to a quarter of what they've been spending.
About $900 something a month saving potentially.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm looking at an individual, like an HMO plan at $502 for an individual, or a preferred provider organization plan would be $503, and then we're looking at the Christian healthcare ministries for an individual at $150.
Right.
So, even $150 seems like a lot of money to me, but in the scheme of things, it's a true bargain.
It is a true bargain for many people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is.
So I'm interested in finding out more about it. Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Penick. Have you met anyone who is part of Christian Healthcare Ministries, which is chministries.org? Have you met anyone who said, I should never have gotten involved with those guys?
No. And the people that I see who are members of the Healthcare Christian Ministries are people who are, like myself, self-employed. Mm-hmm. They don't have any group plans that they can participate in. Mm-hmm. They are healthy individuals who make fairly well-educated decisions on proactive choices to remain healthy. Mm-hmm. They come to see me for blood work and things just to monitor certain things because they get a much better deal on their blood work with me. And what they found was, I'll give you an example of a lady who is a therapist, and she goes into nursing homes and does therapy with people. She was paying for her insurance because she's 61 years old. She was paying about $700-something a month and still had a $10,000 deductible. So when she found healthcare ministries, she's saving $600-something a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I have several people that I know. No one has been dissatisfied. The information is there for anybody who wants to look it up and avail themselves to it. It's just another option, and You are covered by the law under that option to be able to do that.
I'm looking at some of the advantages as listed on their website. Okay,
I'm sure you
And
see
one of
that Governor Huckabee does an interview with them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of what they say are advantages. Now, one of them is no application fee or annual fee. That's kind of nice. No waiting period. That's nice. Generous maternity program. That's nice. No physical required. That's nice. And then you choose your own health care providers. That's really nice. And then no one is dropped or denied participation due to medical conditions. I mean, all those that's exactly what we want. We want to choose our own
and isn't that what they
doctors.
said the Affordable Care Act was going to provide to people?
Yeah, and millions of people are being dropped, and doctors are dropping out of the program because they don't want to participate.
And look at this, Vince. That model has been successful through healthcare ministries for decades. A successful model that achieved all the goals that they said they wanted to achieve already existed.
How many people would really, I'll bet you there are a lot of people who really like their doctor and really like the staff. They really don't want to change. They don't want to move. That's why they're where they are for a lot of us.
Correct.
However, I would like you to be my nurse practitioner, Dr. Penick.
Well, Vince, I'd take care of you any day.
You wouldn't get to see me very much, right? Because I'm pretty.
That's the kind of patients I like.
Hey, Dr.
This is
Penick.
what I say to my people. I don't really have people long term, and I'll tell you why. Because I come alongside them and work with them to develop healthy lifestyle choices and healing pathways. And I say to them, I just said to one a couple of weeks ago, if you're not achieving your healthcare goals within 90 days or not 2/3 of the way there, then I'm not the person you should be working with. Because that means we are failing the mark on what needs to be done. And that's true. I tell my patients, I look forward to seeing less and less of you. And if I do my job right, I'm going to put you out of my practice in short order. Because they need to be equipped with the tools that they need to take care of themselves. They can't be attached to me for 24/7.
Very interesting that you said that. I used to go, when we had our computer manufacturing company, I used to go head-to-head with IBM and the big companies. And the customers, the large customers would say to me, well, how do we, how are you going to do this? Because it looks like it's just you versus, massive IBM. And I'd say, my plan is to teach you how to live with your computers so that you don't need me.
Correct.
That's my plan. And it worked.
Correct.
And it really works. So I love your model, and something that we used, the same model back in throughout the 1990s.
But
I'm
the
looking at
big
this.
machines of insurance companies don't like that. They don't want your healthcare choices to be in your hands. We don't educate people to take care of themselves. We want to give a lot of lip service in this country to preventive health services. In the Affordable Care Act, that's defined as screening tests. Well, that's not preventative health care services. Preventative health care services is changing the dynamic of what you think about your fellow man, what you speak to your fellow man, what you harbor and hold against your fellow man, and the dynamic of what you put in your mouth from a food perspective and what you let out of your mouth from a heart-speaking perspective. That's preventive health care, not doing a screening colonoscopy or a screening mammogram. What does that do for people?
Let's talk about that when we get back. Well, class, I just got off the phone with Christian Healthcare Ministries. I called them, and I'm going to see if I can get them on the air with us to discuss this. Ken Hurley's in the studio with me, and he said, "Boy, I think I'm going for it too." So what a great option, Dr. Penick. You mentioned during the first hour love, okay? And here's a medical question for you: is it possible to be at optimal health while harboring a grudge or deep-seated anger? Is it possible to be truly healthy
No.
carrying.
See how quick that came out of my mouth? Absolutely not. Because that's a spiritual ill. And unrest in the spirit manifests as unrest in the physical body. Mm-hmm. But the Word tells us that.
I was looking at a picture of Bill Gates, one of the founders of Microsoft. He's not all that old. And I was looking at the visible signs of vitality and health, and I don't see them in him. And with some of the things that, his organization is doing, which is they're talking about population reduction, population elimination. That's a heavy burden to carry. It's got to be weighing heavily on his health, and you can see it. I mean, you can look, and he does not look healthy. Also, you look at other people who are in the political arena, and you say, "Geez, how come they don't look healthy? Why is that?" And I'm wondering if it's because of the lack of love, the things that politicians seem to want to do to obfuscate, confuse us, not level with us. I wonder if that has an effect on their health, as well as other people who are involved in not being above board. If
you step back to the writings of Dr. Hans Selye back in the 1950s, in his book called The Stress of Life, he would tell you, and he proved scientifically, that absolutely that is having a negative impact on their health. Mm-hmm. And he talks about his general adaptation syndrome, where you have an alarm phase, where the body says, ooh, this doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, right? And then you go through those phases until you get to system exhaustion, where the organism, the individual cannot compensate anymore, and that's where illness sets in. So he's proven that. Medical science accepts that as not theory. Medical science accepts that it's fact. And in fact, a few years ago they came out with a big meta-analysis of research that said at the heart of the majority of chronic disease in this country is stress. Well, they made that sound like that was new news, but we've known that for decades, right? Mm-hmm. Because there is a physiologic biochemical response to stress that has a negative impact on the organism. And that sets the body up for disease. We also know now in medicine that the majority of your chronic disease processes are a result of the inflammatory response. And so now the buzzwords we use in medicine is we want to find ways to help people facilitate a healthy inflammatory response. Well, how about we start looking at what's the inflammatory issues that the person faces, like the consumption of white sugar, which is the most pro-inflammatory substance you can eat, right? Mm-hmm. And what about smoking cigarettes, which is one of the most pro-inflammatory habits that you can have? We know, and the Surgeon General has said to us for decades, that the number one cause of all premature disability and mortality in this country is tobacco use. Huge national agenda to get people off of tobacco. Well, if we know these things, why are we not paying greater attention to these things? We give lip service to it. Oh, yeah, we give lip service to it. But we don't really put any teeth in it. That's the problem. Although I will tell you that one of the local hospitals here is doing urine testing on new hires for the presence of nicotine. Mm-hmm. And they're not wanting to hire anybody who smokes. Why do you think that is? It adds to their health care costs. And for their existing employees, they're going to offer them free smoking cessation programs, and then they're going to monitor their urine to see if they're truthful when they say they quit smoking.
Dr. Penick, when we come back, I'd like to share a story with you. I was invited on Sam Bushman's broadcast before ours this morning, and I mentioned that 2/3 of us mistrust each other. Let's talk about that when we come back. Dr. Julie Penick, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. Mistrust in America. Is that part of why we're sick? We'll be right back. Penick's with us, PenickHealthcare.com. She's on the website, page 1, USAPrepares.com. Dr. Penick, I was on another broadcaster's show this morning before ours, and his name is Sam Bushman. And I mentioned to him that 2/3 there's a study, 2/3 of Americans don't trust each other. So 2/3 of us don't feel comfortable with transactions that we're involved in. Now, that level of distrust is widespread in America. Now, is that 2/3? Is that a number that you might equate with how many of us are not healthy in America?
Well, we know 1/3 of the adult population in the United States is obese, right?
Yep,
And that's not overweight. That's obese. So do you think another third might be in that BMI range between 25 and 30?
Sure.
Yeah. So you said to your healthcare provider when he talked to you about gaining 4 pounds, and you said, "Have you looked out in your waiting room?" What my family and I do is when we go out to a restaurant, which is rare because my husband's an amazing cook, but if we go out to a restaurant as a family, we try to count how many tables in the restaurant have 100% of the people sitting at the table who are normal weight. How many tables you think we count? Not very many, right? People who are not well falter in all type of their physiologic functioning, including their cognitive abilities, their focus and concentration abilities. People who are malnourished, and obese people are malnourished, believe it or not. And there's a huge mechanism that leads them to be malnourished. They lack adequate protein utilization to be able to produce dopamine, which is the alert neurochemical, and serotonin, which is one of the biggest brain balancing chemicals. So do you think there's some level of distrust that comes along with not being well when we look at the contributions of those neurochemicals to overall wellness? Yeah, absolutely. I can make a case for that. Absolutely. It's dramatic.
That's absolutely fascinating. Now, the people who you meet, you're in the Springfield, Missouri community. Are you seeing a greater percentage of unhealthy people this year versus, let's say, 10 years ago?
Are you saying in my private practice or just general observations?
No, general observations as a professional in healthcare and medicine that you are. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you can look at a person through your eyes, Dr. Penick, and see with a great degree of certainty whether someone is healthy or not. Isn't that true?
Oh, yeah. You know, my office mate where I teach nursing students loves to go to the mall, and I tell her I can't go to the mall. She loves it. I can't go. You know why? Because I sit at a mall and I'm naming all the diagnoses as people pass me. You know, it's a burden because they don't look well. They don't look healthy. They don't look happy. And that's not 100% of people, but that's a lot of people.
Okay. So if
we have driven people to high levels of poor health by all of the crazy recommendations that we have made in the healthcare arena through the last several decades. We swore people off fat, telling it was bad for them. That pushes them into carbs and sugar, because when we take fat out of foods, we replace it with sugar. Now, all of a sudden, we're backpedaling because we know central to heart disease is a sugar insulin problem. Well, heck, they wrote about that 40 and 50 years ago. When did we stop paying attention to that, right? So the American public has been subject to about a 4-decade, very dramatic, traumatic experiment going down the low-fat road, which was the absolute wrong road to go down. And so now we've crippled people with obesity and diabetes.
Dr. Penick, when I was growing up in the 1950s and the 1960s, there was probably, at the absolute most, one child in our elementary school class per year. At the most, one out of, let's say, 24 or 25 students who was overweight. Just one. But that's not the case anymore, is it?
No, it's probably about 1 in 4 or 1 in 5. About 20% probably, if not 25%, yeah. which is sad.
Okay.
But you know what? Their parents are feeding them exactly the way that they're being told to feed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of those carbs, those low-fat foods, and all that does is cause insulin problems, and insulin is the fat-storing hormone. And it has negative effects on the brain. But that's a whole other topic for another show.
Okay, let's do that next time.
Okay.
Dr. Penick, seriously, I believe, boy, I'm not going to make any friends on this broadcast. I believe that we are less intuitive. We are less energetic. We are less inventive. We are less innovative. We have a lower IQ than 40 years ago, on average. I really believe that we do. I don't see young people today tinkering. I don't see many people with creative do-it-yourself projects. I don't see the innovation anymore in America.
Did you hear on the national news this morning that when they just completed the math aptitude testing across the globe, where the United States placed?
I'll bet you we're in the bottom 25%.
We placed number 36.
Out of
now,
how many?
They didn't say how many countries had students who participated,
okay,
but we placed 36. I would challenge your listening audience to name 35 other countries where they would have what we would think would be top-notch educational systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, your Chinese, I'm pretty sure it was a Chinese student body that placed in the top. But there were students in the Slavic nations that scored above the United States. Now, this is a part of the globe where they've gone through such economic trauma and the tear down of the USSR into individual states. And so we, naively in this country, think we are so much better than that, but clearly we're not cutting the mark when it comes to educating our young people, which is why we don't have the innovation, right? Because if we place 36th in aptitude in mathematics, that's where your scientists are really keen, right, in mathematics. Mm-hmm. And do you know what they cited as the success of the students from China? The society there places high value ensuring that the educators are quality individuals who can teach well.
Wow. And, you know...
Don't get us started on that topic in this country, right? Don't step on the sacred cow of the education, the teachers' unions.
Dr. Penick, when I was in Virginia, I received a call from a college, and they said, "Would you consider teaching computer science?" And I said, "I don't have an education background in how to teach." And they said, "No, we need someone who knows the subject matter, and that's what we're looking for." And so I became a teacher, and then I became a teacher in the high school environment where I taught advanced computer science, and I was brought in because I knew the subject matter, not that I was certified as a teacher. Now, our children have had instructors who have said, "Listen, we're going to go through the book together, and I'm going to stay a chapter ahead of you. I'm an English major, and I'm teaching biology, so please don't expect too much of me." I mean, that's what our educational system has come to.
Oh my gosh, how sad is that?
Oh, it's really sad. It's really sad because one of our children learned absolutely nothing about biology from the instructor because you can't ask a question because
they don't have that
an English
background.
major.
Right. They don't have that background.
Are you seeing that in education today at the college level? I'm not going to ask you about where you teach, but are you seeing it?
No, I'm going to tell you that at this level, I am seeing, I've been quite well pleased with the knowledge of the subject matter that people are teaching to their students who are in programs specifically for that subject matter. They are well experienced and I would say at many levels experts in the content that they teach. But you should also know, while we may not mention the name, I teach an institution that started as a technical institute.
Mm-hmm.
And so not all of the people who teach here have bachelor's degrees, but they have that experience in doing the work that they're teaching people to do.
Or they wouldn't be able to teach it.
Correct.
Dr. Penick, we have Blue from Tennessee on the line. Blue, please go ahead with Dr. Julie Penick.
Thank you. I'm not quite sure what part of the country that you live in.
Missouri.
But if you have... Pardon?
We're in Missouri.
Missouri. Do you have Kroger's in Missouri?
Yeah, well, we have a Kroger. We have Dillon's, which is a Kroger brand store.
Okay. I can't say for sure if the Dillon's has it, but the Kroger's in my area. I live in East Tennessee. They have kiosks now where, you would standardly go to the pharmacy and you would have the little blood pressure machine and you would check your blood pressure. Well, these machines are much more than that. You sit on the chair and you put your feet up on the edge of it and it can weigh you. It does your BMI. It can give you your biorhythms. If you're willing to put your hands up to the sensor bars on this machine.
Wow.
This is it was scary when I saw it. It's all up on a flat screen television that is also actually displayed out towards the audience of the shoppers.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Blue, hold that thought. Would you like to hold through the break?
I would.
Okay. Hold, please. Think about this. With biometrics, not only will they know that, they'll know who you are. Class Dr. Julie Penick is with us, and Blue is with us from Tennessee. And Blue, you mentioned the Kroger Health Center kiosks. I did a quick search on the internet, and they're provided by a California company called Stay Healthy Incorporated. And Kroger announced that they're going to roll out 1,950 of these health screening kiosks nationwide. They say that they're to improve body composition, and they will take some measurements. And let me tell you what they are: blood pressure, weight, body composition, body mass index, color vision, and there's an ability to upload your blood glucose numbers and other biometric results. Upload them. Upload them where? Now, before we went into the break, I mentioned, wow, and if they've got your biometric numbers and measurements and statistics, they will know who you are. And I believe if they're looking at your color vision numbers, whatever that may be, they're looking into your eye and they can scan, probably, and know who you are. And when I got my driver's license in Missouri, I could not keep my eyes open for that photograph. So there I was, with my eyes closed for that very reason. So, Blue, you have raised an important point, and I'm so glad we have scouts out there like you alerting us as to some of these threats to us. Now, it appears, Dr. Penick, it appears that this is all for our benefit, right?
Well, that's what they tell you. It's the same process where insurance companies will go into big corporate environments and say, we're going to sponsor this wellness program with you. And they come in and they collect blood samples and they take blood pressures and they ask, they do survey questions about stressors in people's lives. And then they come back with a report. 94% of your workforce is obese. 92% have high blood pressure that's not being treated. 87% have stress and need stress reduction. They are not coming in there like these little kiosks. They're not coming in there to help alert you to problems because people already know what their problems are before they sit down in there. They are doing it to collect information that they will then use, and in the course of the corporate wellness programs to jack up insurance rates on those people who are unhealthy. And I suspect that when they're putting them out in the public, they are collecting data. I mean, look at we found out about what the National Security, NSA, is collecting on people, right? So that's all going into a data bank somewhere. And so I would say avoid the kiosk at all costs. Let
Lou,
me
your
tell you
thoughts?
what's going on too, Vince.
Okay, sure.
I have clients who come to see me for their minor acute problems, which I would be more than happy to do with you, by the way. And because they've been with me for 2 or 3 years, they don't really have to go to their doctor because I teach them what to do for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I've had 3 families recently receive letters from their insurance company. You haven't used your annual wellness visit with your doctor. You haven't taken your children to the pediatrician for their annual wellness visits. You will select a primary care provider. You will select one for your children, and you will go once a year, or we will terminate your insurance plan.
Okay, may I interrupt right there? That was the second part of what I wanted to say. My children have not seen a primary care doctor since elementary school. They're in high school now, and so we did acquire insurance, and our provider provided us with a primary care doctor. And so we had the initial visit. They proceeded to tell me that my son was 27% BMI. And because of that, he was going to have to see a dietitian, and he would have to be tested for sugar diabetes, so on and so forth.
Blue, we're out of time. Blue, we're out of time. Dr. Penick, do you have a quick response?
I feel her pain, and she has just confirmed what we all knew. They are wanting to collect data and make the American population sicker and sicker and sicker so that they can herd you like cattle and lead you into the pitfalls of their health care.
Dr. Penick, thanks so much for being with us. Blue, thank you so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you. PenickHealthcare.com. It's on the website, page 1.